What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here, and this is the Nightfall Gold Tier Guide, showcasing not only how to beat this week's Nightfall from January 17th to the 24th, but also some tips for how to achieve that Gold Tier ranking and complete the Sunrise Bounty from Zavala to hopefully get a crack at the Icebreaker Exotic Sniper Rifle. So, let's get started. Now, the first thing we're going to do is discuss my recommended build, but to do so we need to go over this week's Nightfall modifiers. Firstly and foremostly, there is Arc Burn. This is absolutely huge. It's going to massively increase the damage your arc abilities and arc weapons do. So use an arc subclass, the Striker Titan, the Blade Dancer Hunter, or the Stormcaller Warlock. Aside from that, use as many arc weapons as you can. The Zavala Supercell Exotic Primary Auto Rifle is fantastic for this. It is the only elemental primary that you can infuse for year 2 and year 3. So having an excuse to use this weapon is great for your damage output. I also have an arc secondary and an arc heavy. The arc secondary is very important because we also have specialist as a modifier, massively increasing the damage your special secondary weapon is going to do. After that, we have juggler, meaning that whatever weapon you're currently using, no ammo will drop for that weapon. So if you're using your secondary for too long, you will naturally run out of ammo for it because no special weapon ammo will be dropping. And lastly, we have airborne, letting you deal more damage while in the air. So, for this build, again, Specialist and Arc Burn may make some of you think that you should be using an awesome arc special weapon, and there definitely are a few. The Trespasser would be a blast to use in this week's Nightfall, as would the Fourth Horseman. However, Juggler definitely puts a little bit of a damper in that plan, because if you're using, the Trespasser for an extended period of time, you are going to naturally run out of ammo pretty damn quickly. That gun really relies, as with most secondaries, on ammo drops occurring while you're getting kills. So I would still recommend the Zavala Supercell. It is so good whenever there's arc burn, and frankly, a legendary arc sniper like the one I have is dealing a massive amount of damage, and you're really not going to go too wrong by giving up your exotic slot to the Zavala. In terms of your exotic armor piece, it's really up to you. Try to use something that will extend your damage capabilities with something arc. You can utilize the Ruin Wings if you're utilizing, the Thunderlord as an arc heavy weapon. You want to have more heavy weapon ammo available. You can utilize something that gives you an extra melee charge. If your melee is arc, you can utilize something like me, like the Armamentarium here, where you get an extra grenade charge because my grenades deal arc damage. Just utilize something that is going to complement your arc abilities. And now, let's move off of my recommended build and start with the Nightfall walkthrough. The strike featured is the Sunless Cell. Don't be fooled, there's actually a lot of arc damage dealing enemies throughout this strike. As the taken enemies, the eyes that the acolytes create do arc damage, the scions do arc damage, so just be aware of that, not to mention that the normal hive with boomer knights and wizards and thralls are also going to be dealing a ton of arc as well. So you really are going to want to take this Nightfall just overall kind of at a slower pace, because it just out of nowhere you could take a ton of arc damage from an eye like I do at the very beginning here and die. So don't put yourself in a scenario where you are at risk for no reason. Take things just a little bit slower, and if you're using an arc special weapon, you kill everything in one shot. We were getting one-shot kills on wizards through their shields, so it really isn't hard to just wipe out all of the enemies before going into an area. Now, the first big encounter takes place in this open area. You have a lot of enemies to fight. Again, a lot of arc damage dealing enemies at that. And then you have to go to the right and the left platforms and stay within an objective zone on both sides to transmat the objective and open the door to continue on. All the while, a Hive Shrieker will be shooting at you. Now, the main point I want to make here is that when you are doing the transmatting, when you have to stay in that objective zone, don't think that you absolutely have to stay there. So many people have died from the Shrieker remnants that are trying to transmat the code for basically no reason. There is no harm in jumping off, avoiding these Shrieker remnants that will easily kill you, and then just jumping back on. You don't fail the objective at all. You don't need to do it again necessarily. You just step back on, it'll start charging again, and it doesn't take any time whatsoever. It's not worth it trying to resist the Shrieker shots and just dying as a result of it. Furthermore, when you do activate an objective on the right or left side, it's going to cause more adds to spawn. Make sure that if you are on the right or left side far off in the distance, use your sniper rifle or your heavy or even your primary to take out the adds before you come back. Pretty much all of the adds that spawn deal a crap ton of arc damage, boomers and wizards, so it's just not worth it trying to make your way back while under fire that does, again, massive damage. Snipe the enemies when you're in a safe position off in the pillars and then come back to the main area. Moving on from there, the door is going to open and lead you into the next main encounter. This encounter is more of the same in terms of everything is going to deal arc to you. It is absolutely imperative that you play safe. You know, when you're doing the normal strike, like in a strike playlist, everyone just goes forward, waits for the enemies to spawn, and then, you know, pops their hammers or slams or uses their heavy or whatever. But if you do that, you may not have that nice of a time, because not only are the enemies going to spawn in that main area that, again, everyone waits for them to spawn in, but they're also going to spawn in slightly smaller numbers off to the left and off to the right and behind you. And when you're waiting to get the big slam on the enemies spawning at the front, yes, you can produce a lot of orbs, but then there'll be a bunch of arc damage dealing scions behind you, and that could really get your group in trouble. It's best to stay a little bit back, utilize your arc weapons to take all of the enemies down, and just forego the massive fist of havoc that I'm sure you wanted to do. If you really do want to get up there and be aggressive, again, make sure to watch all sides, the right and the left, and behind you. Enemies are going to be spawning from all of them. Now, once you do kill enough enemies, the door is going to open to let you continue on this strike. However, there are still going to be enemies there. There's going to be like one enemy blocking your way. Now, you can kill this one enemy and continue on with the Nightfall. There's no harm in doing that, other than your points may be a little low. If you're at all worried about your points, make sure to stay when that door opens and kill the enemies that have spawned. And quite frankly, there really isn't much harm in doing kind of what you see me do in this scenario, which is just throw a grenade, you know, get some kills, and then keep going. Kind of split the difference. Don't necessarily stay to kill all of the enemies, but throw a grenade, you know, shoot a rocket launcher, what have you, get some points, and then continue on. Now moving on, the next encounter can be a bit tricky. There is a ton of Shriekers in this room. One of the doors, the left or the right, is going to open, and there's going to be a decent amount of enemies guarding this door. But it's arc burn and specialist, meaning that you can absolutely snipe the crap out of all of these enemies. Like, just a few shots will take down even the yellow health taken enemies. Do this. Snipe all of the enemies guarding the open door. Kill maybe one or two Shriekers that are directly like the closest ones to you, and then just make a run for it. It's really not worth spending so much time here in the Shrieker room killing every single Shrieker. If you feel like you're low on points, you can absolutely do that, but my team didn't, and we still had no trouble getting the gold contender medal. So kill the first few Shriekers right in your way, make sure to kill all of the enemies guarding the door, and then just make a run for it. You'll likely be fine. After that, we've got a bridge with a bunch of thralls running single file right at you. So just go to town, get the primary rampage or secondary rampage or whatever medal you want. It may actually be good to just let one player amongst all of your team just go ham on this part so that they can get a bunch of medals, whereas splitting it amongst your teammates, I mean, yeah, you could get a fire team streak, but those rampage medals, they give you a lot of points. In any event, after you kill these thralls, don't immediately jump down. You can see with my team, if we would have done that, we would have missed out on this heavy ammo crate that spawns. There is almost always a secondary or a heavy ammo crate that spawns before you have to jump down to this final boss battle. And if you jump down too early, you are literally just giving up ammunition that you may need. So stay just a few seconds, get that ammo, and then continue on with the boss fight. Now this boss fight is absolutely no joke with this week's modifier. Again, arc burn. There's going to be nothing but thralls, which deal arc damage in the form of melees, and cursed thralls, which when they explode, they deal, you guessed it, arc damage. And they spawn from every direction in this boss fight, and it is pitch black. So you are going to have a huge chance to just be massacred by thralls if you aren't paying attention. It is really, really easy when doing this boss fight to just aim down the sights of your sniper and just go to town. Like, you get mesmerized by the 60,000 damage that pops up when you get a headshot, but if you do that and a cursed thrall gets too close behind you and blows up, no matter how much armor you have, no matter what you're doing, you are likely going to die. In fact, it may actually be worth dedicating one teammate to just killing thralls. Whoever has the Zavala supercell, just focuses on killing thralls. They're so easy to take down when you're actually going for them and shooting at them. It's just when they sneak up behind you, when you don't see them because they spawn behind you, or when you pay too much attention to the boss, that they become a problem. So one teammate dedicated to just massacring all the thralls is seriously something you may want to consider. Aside from that, there really isn't any tricky mechanics that you're going to have to account for in this boss fight. Simply jump around the arena, and I do really mean jump. When you're in the air, nothing can damage you, and in fact you want to be in the air because of the airborne modifier. So if you're going to throw a grenade or you're going to shoot an enemy with a rocket, jump in the air first. You're going to do extra damage. After you do enough damage to the boss, you're going to knock his helmet off and make him much more aggressive. He's going to be faster and charge at you a lot more readily. When this happens, just try to stay mobile. Again, jump around the arena. Don't stand there and try to get an entire magazine of primary or secondary into the boss, because that is a recipe for disaster. Take a hit and run approach. Do damage when you can, and then get right back on the move. Now follow those tips and you should be able to complete this week's Nightfall with a gold tier ranking. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Now if you did, please remember to help me out by rating, commenting, and especially sharing. If you guys want to see more Destiny content similar to this and don't want to miss out on next week's Nightfall guide, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. But in YouTube 2017, since subscribing does nothing, make sure to press the bell beside subscribe so you're actually notified of new uploads. Now, if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.